This is Marketing Fundamentals with Bob. Topic 4, consumer decision making. Well, folks, you're going to have a privilege in this one. In one topic here, what I'm going to do is go through our entire consumer behavior course. So let's take a look at how we start with the process of consumer decision making. We start with a need recognition, information search, some evaluation of alternatives, purchase, and then what happens after the purchase. Okay, that's basically how the theoretical structure is, and we're going to kind of go through these things one at a time. But what we're going to do with this, we're going to go beyond just the structure and the theory in this and kind of say what is really going on, and then from that point, how marketers can take advantage of that to really make something happen. So let's start off here with need recognition. And basically what we're saying with need recognition is some kind of an imbalance between where you're at and where you'd like to be. And within this, what I've got internal stimuli, for instance, internal stimuli, that's just what's going on inside your head. Simple example of that, one in which just internal stimuli, you're consciously aware of it. Example 1, I'm hungry. Where am I going to go for lunch? Example 2, I got a headache. What do I do to get rid of it? Now, well, then we might have even a little bit more complex example of which you might really not be aware of what your situation is. You just have this sense deep down inside that people really don't like you because they really don't perceive that you're successful. So that's going on inside your head. Then there's the external stimuli, and that's everything that goes on outside your head. That's advertising, point of sale, independent information, friends. It's just what you see and hear everywhere. So after that, we then go to information search. And information search, basically, I've got my internal information search and my external information search correspond with internal stimuli and external stimuli, respectively. Now, the key question here, to what extent, if at all, is your conscious mind really going about doing an information search? You might really not be doing a rational information search. The stuff may just be happening. Going back to our examples here. You're saying you're hungry. What are you going to do for lunch? So, internal stimuli, limited information search. I'm just going to go to Hardee's. But on the way driving down to Hardee's, you might just see some external stimuli. Hey, here's a little billboard says, hey, King Buffet today, special, $4.99. You just pull in. You conducted no conscious external information search of any kind. You just saw something and responded to it. Similarly, headache. What am I going to do about it? You hop in the car. You're going down to Walmart to get some Tylenol. But you're driving down, heading down to Walmart, and there's Walgreens. Well, that's a whole lot easier. You just pull into Walgreens. And then as you head into Walgreens, and you're going to get the Tylenol, but there's a little point-of-sale display for Aleve. It's on sale. You just get it. Here again. Basically, I have conducted no conscious external information search whatsoever in this particular case. Now, we are more likely to engage in a conscious external information search for a complex, high-risk decision. So let me go back to my third example here. You have this feeling that people don't really like you all that much because they don't perceive you're successful. I might then, with this sort of in the back of my mind, not maybe all that well-defined, I might just begin to notice ads, not even consciously at first, for Mercedes, Rolex, fashion clothing, which of course are the vehicles that let people think you're a successful and a good person. Now those are marketing controlled information sources. They're coming from organizations and firms that are producing those products or services. Or you're influenced by a friend who kind of points out to you, Bob, you're never going to find love as long as you keep driving a 1979 Cutlass. That's a non-marketing controlled information source. Now, as your awareness becomes heightened and you're now more conscious of the need, you might just happen one day to just happen to log on to the Mercedes website. That's a marketing controlled source. Or you go on to the next step, you kind of check out the reliability of new cars through Consumer Reports. That's a non-marketing controlled source. So then I get to the point, I start now considering an evaluation of my alternatives. And within this, the evaluation of alternative begins when the search for information ends, at least for the time being, and some possible course of action is identified. Within this, we have what is called the evoked set. That is those products that are in the pool for consideration. So on cars, I'm saying, well, Mercedes and Lexus are in, BMW and Cadillac is out. Now, here's the thing. My evaluation of my alternatives is based on some combination of specific product attributes and often predominantly intangibles and image. So I'm sort of thinking about this at this point. And then, basically, we've got somebody who's primed and ready to buy. Oh, a salesperson's dream. They see something, just happens to fill all those intangibles and the image. A boat on the water. They were never thinking about a boat on the water. They were thinking about a Mercedes and a Lexus. But there's a boat, and they go, even without consciously saying it, it's, yes, this would give me all the image of success I need. And they buy the boat. And they just buy the boat like that. But then we have cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. This being basically the tension and anxiety from contrasting an assessment of one's behavior. So you're saying, oh my goodness, I just paid $347,000 for condominium. Or, oh my goodness, I just paid $347 for an outfit to wear to Seville tonight. So in selling, something we always tell people, you always reassure people. You always tell them how great a purchase they did. You follow up after the sale to ensure the satisfaction after the sale. Now, let me get into a little something here, too, about this point here. And think about the role of advertising. Traditionally, and a lot of people in marketing, consumer behavior, will talk about the role of advertising is to help to get you toward the point of making a purchasing decision. And the thinking would go, well, think about, what do you think about the idea that, would you say that the role of advertising is finished at the time of the purchase? There's nothing else for advertising to do then, would you say? Or would you say perhaps there is a role for advertising to play after the purchase? Because let's think about this. You've done a lot of your decisions are made largely emotionally. And if someone asks you, why did you buy such and such a brand of car or TV set or something like that, you don't want to say, oh, I just felt like it emotionally. Or why did you buy that boat? Oh, I just felt like it. No, you want some rational reason why you wanted to do it. So a lot of times, what advertising will do is after the sale, it gives you a rational reasoning for why you made that purchasing decision. Because very fundamentally, in many purchases, especially one that's going to last you a long time, consumer satisfaction begins after the sale. Now, let me take you back to my days at Coke. And we're looking at we've got an ad campaign we've got going on. And we've got planned some heavy promotional activities in all the chains, say, on Memorial Day weekend. So we're thinking of running an ad campaign. Would you say then we run the ad campaign pretty heavy for, say, the 2 weeks preceding Memorial Day weekend? Does that make sense? We run the ad campaign for 2 weeks leading into Memorial Day, and then we've got the product on sale in the stores. You think that's how you do it? No, that's not how we would do it. What we would do, we would run the ad campaign the 2 weeks after the promo. The role of advertising is following the promo. Think of this now. I'm talking here about a discretionary, low-involvement product. You walk into the store on Memorial Day weekend, and you see Coca-Cola sitting there at 4 12-packs for $11, which is a pretty good price nowadays. You buy it. You come buy it. That's what it is. Now, here's the thing we're going to see more and more. We're going to see this throughout the course, is that people are going to tend to see advertising for products they have most recently purchased. You'll notice that, like you buy that new kind of car. Have you noticed, first of all, how many of those cars you saw on the road, now how much you notice they're advertising? Same thing in Coca-Cola. If I get Coca-Cola in your home with about, say, 4 12-packs for the weekend, it's in the refrigerator, you're drinking a lot of it. Now you see a Coke ad on TV, you're more likely to recall it. For a non-discretionary, low-involvement product like a Coca-Cola, what they're trying to do is figure, what is the level of awareness I am getting for every ad dollar? And by running the advertising after the promotion, they get higher levels of awareness for fewer ad dollars. They get a better bang for their buck on the advertising. So it makes sense to run the promo first, then the advertising second, contrary to what you might think. Well, on this thing, let's take a look now at consumer involvement and the levels we have here, and ranking these things from the least involved all the way to the more involved. Routine response behavior, that's your least complex. Generally for this, low involvement, low cost impulse items, or low cost items that are frequently purchased. So every month, our secretary is ordering out the same items and same brands of office supplies from the same vendor, doesn't check out alternatives, doesn't even check what's on sale, he just do it all the time. Every day you walk by the vending machine, you buy yourself a can of Mountain Dew or something like that. Limited decision making, that's the next level up. Moderately quick, limited consequence decision. So you need a refrigerator. So maybe you check the Sunday ads, but then again, maybe you don't, because let's think about this. When do you think you need a refrigerator? You don't, that's not really a pre-planned purchase. You're probably going to start thinking of a refrigerator when the one you're using now goes on you. So what's likely to happen is you've got in your mind, where would you go to get a refrigerator? And all of a sudden it goes. My own experience, I see my refrigerator, that thing was a little over 20 years old. And I just noticed one day that the beer was getting a little bit tepid. And I looked at the thermostat in there, a thermometer in there, and it says, it's reading about 38. It's a little high. And then the next day it was reading like 44. I said, well, that old refrigerator, it's time to replace it, time to do it. I'd had a Kenmore. I was totally happy with the Kenmore. I was fortunate it's a Friday morning. It works for me because I don't teach on Fridays. So Friday morning, I'm up real early. It was about 6:30 in the morning, and I just call Sears. I want to find out what time they open. I'm going to go over and buy a refrigerator today. So I dial them up, and it picks up the answer machine, picks up at Sears. Thank you for calling Sears at University Mall. Sears at University Mall is closed. You can contact us at Sears.com. Have a good day. And I'm thinking, I'm not surprised that Sears at University Mall is closed. I figure they're going to take that whole place and turn it into a flea market. Well, wait a second. Sears at University Mall had not closed. The fact of the matter is, I'm calling before they open to find out when they open. The message I should have gotten was something along the lines of, thank you for calling Sears at University Mall. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 until 7, or whatever they were, to let me know when I can go. They didn't say that. They'll talk about basic execution at account level. They failed in execution. They failed to sell me a refrigerator that day. So I called Home Depot. And right about the same time, thank you for calling Home Depot on 9 Mile Road. Our hours of operation are 7 a.m. until perfect, 7 a.m., not a problem. Zip right down, it's only about 2 blocks away. So I zip on down to Home Depot. I'm in the door at about 7:02. I'm going back to the refrigerator section. I'm looking around and I see, yeah, I could probably go with that one. I'm looking around here. Is there somebody around here who can take my order? And there's no employees around. So I hang out there and I'm standing around for a while. It gets to be about 7:15. Nobody's shown up yet. And I said, well, I guess they don't want to take my money today. I think I'll walk next door to Lowe's. Hello? You open up at 7. Someone about 2 minutes past 7 is walking through the refrigerator section looking very seriously at the refrigerators. I think they're ready to buy. I think you need an employee on the floor in that location at the moment you open. That's basic execution, isn't it? Yeah. So I walk to Lowe's, go over to Lowe's. And I'm going through and looking at the refrigerators and kind of and I go, oh. It's an all black refrigerator. And I'm thinking, this is perfect. If there's one thing I cannot stand, it's a bright, sunny kitchen. Beautiful, perfect. So I get it. The guy takes my money. It's going to be delivered the next day. That's exactly what I needed. Needed that thing the next day. So we're set to go. Next day, the guys come out. They haul off the old refrigerator. They put them in a refrigerator, and I'm sitting there through the day, and it's cranked up pretty good because the thermometer in there is all right down on 32 degrees. It's sitting down there good and cold, and I'm kind of thinking there. I'm sitting there saying, you know what? I think that tonight I'm going to have me some Johnny Walker on the rocks to celebrate my new refrigerator. And I'm kind of sitting there waiting until the new ice maker will kick in for me. And it's been 2-3 hours and it hasn't kicked in the ice maker yet. And I think this is kind of weird, and it gets on like late afternoon and the ice maker still hasn't kicked out the first ice cube. And I'm kind of thinking, damn. looks like another night of Yingling Black and Tan. And so the next day, no ice cubes. So I go down to Lowe's and say, you guys installed this refrigerator yesterday, ice maker's not working. And guy at the desk says, yeah, we're having a lot of problems with those ice makers and those Frigidaires. And I'm going, oh, Christmas. So they send their crew out to the house and all this, and I explain, it's working fine as far as cooling, but the freezer's working, but the ice maker's not working. And the guy on the crew there, he says, yeah, we're having a lot of problems in the ice makers and these Frigidaires. And I'm, great, okay, so. Yeah, we'll have to send out a contractor to do the repair on this thing. So, okay, now it's a couple days later. Contractor finally shows up at the house. He's gonna fix the ice maker, and he's coming in. I'm showing him in the house, and I say to the contractor, I guess you guys have a lot of problems with these ice makers on these Frigidaires, huh? And he says, no, we're not. He walks up to it. He reaches around the back of the refrigerator. He turns a little switch, and I can hear this as the water moves into the ice maker. No, they haven't been having problems with the ice makers and the Frigidaires. They're guys who are doing the installations, and the guys in the store and all the rest didn't know you got to flip this little switch to turn the water on to make it go into it. Folks, again, execution, implementation. If you seem to be having an ongoing problem like this, maybe you want to check out to see what's going on. Do we have a product problem, or do we have a training problem going on here? The cost of having to send a contractor out to my house, he wasn't there for 5 minutes, but I'm willing to bet you that the cost of that contractor coming out probably took out most of the profit in that sale. It's, again, a point we're going to see throughout this course. Be aware of execution, implementation, getting the job done there. So basically then, the last one we have is extensive decision making. That's the most complex. This one I've got a major decision, significant risk and consequences. So you're buying a Toyota hybrid, you're buying a $2 million condo on the beach. You're gonna really think that through, aren't you? Maybe not. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe it's going to be just almost like an impulse purchase at the point of encounter. If everything is right at the point of encounter, my houses. When I got transferred back to Atlanta, I met with I had a friend of mine from the office at Coke. She had a friend that was in the real estate business. We got together at her place up in Roswell on a Saturday morning. We're going to go look at houses. And so we're going through the real estate book. So I saw one there, started off with one. Nice, looks like a nice little A-frame house. Yeah, let's start with this one. So we said, okay, we'll start with this one. So we drive down to this into Chamblee, come across the road. Nice, I like the neighborhood, okay. And then so I go in and we drive down the driveway. It's a long downhill 600-foot driveway, which is somewhat problematic in an Atlanta ice storm, but that's another story. I'm not going to worry about that. So I get down there and I take one look at this house and go, wow. And man, just there it is. This is it for me. And I said to the real estate agent, I'll take it. And she said, what do you mean you'll take it? You haven't even looked inside it yet. Come on. So we go up there and knock on the door. The people aren't home. And so she says, okay, well, tell you what, let's go look at a couple of the other houses that we got here that we want to look at, and we can go back and look at this later and see if these people get home later on. And I said, I don't want to do that. I want this house. This is the house I want right now. And so she said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll go out and get a couple cases of beer. So we got a couple of cases of beer, and we sat in the front lawn drinking beer, throwing the beer cans all over the lawn. And this is what I knew I wanted. There was no question about it. The moment I saw it, I knew this is what I wanted to buy. When I bought my house in Pensacola, I did the same thing. I was out here with Marge and Theo Bars, looking at houses for about 4 days out here. It never hit me. I pretty well figured I'm going back to Athens. I'll come back in a week or two, see if we can find something else at that particular time. And then someone down in their office downtown says, they got one of the gals in the office, her husband at the time was working for Eastern Airlines. Eastern Airlines was fixing to pull out of Pensacola at the time. And the market for houses wasn't all that good. Interest rates were high, the market wasn't good. So they had said, well, they got a house, but given the market, if they had a buyer, they would sell the house and then go rent for a while until they could readily transfer out of town. So you might just check it out. So I was at that point, this is still in my Motel 6 days. I'm staying at the Motel 6 down in Car City. I don't want to do my run up and down Pensacola Boulevard and all the smog and all. So I drove out the university, did a quick 20 laps around the track. So I hit it on the way back. And so I go up and I drive up the street, and yeah, like the neighborhood. Neighborhood's good, stable, good middle-class neighborhood. Houses are well kept, stuff looks pretty good. Turn in the driveway. It's another 600-foot driveway through the woods. I've got a thing for that. And looked at the house, and boom, that was it. That was it. And the lady who was there, and the owner, she comes out of the house, and she kind of waves me up, and I think I said to her something like, I'm the new owner, you may want to start packing. That was it. I knew what I wanted at the time. Okay, further on this thing, think about what's the most important decision you make, extensive decision making, the greatest decision you make for your whole life. Who are you going to marry, right? So you make that decision very rationally, do you not? You consider all possible candidates, their qualities, and you choose the best one. Yeah, right. It just hit you, didn't it? The thunderbolt, all of a sudden you're in love, and then what do? You try to rationalize the decision later on. The only person I know who ever approached marriage rationally is my colleague, Dr. Keller. He was getting into his late 40s. He was getting at the point, he said, it's time to kind of settle down and get married and all this. So he pulled up an evoked set of 20 women that he was going to go out with. Then he was going to narrow it down to about 4 or 5 maybe, and ask that group out for a second date, and then narrow it down finally to ask someone to marry him. But basically, none of the 20 would go out with him, so he bought a dog instead. But anyhow, folks, fact. Consumer decision making is only partially a logical assessment of facts. The old economic man, it doesn't work that way. Emotions and intangibles, people, almost always play a big or the predominant role, and successful marketers play to the audience and emphasize these things, intangibles, and basically all the emotions that people have, and play to them so it just hits you, and all of a sudden you're there. So let's look at some of the factors now that influence consumer decision making. Cultural factors, as we've noted, are a key consideration in global marketing. We have the individual factors and psychological factors. Okay, that's like your personality, your self-image. Those things might be of interest to you at an individual level. Social factors, when demographics can be used as segmenting variable, yeah, they're going to be important. We previously noted age and denture cleanser. Also, certainly payday loans to blue-collar working classes, $10 million yachts to the idle rich. But most useful for marketers, and this deserves a drum roll, yes, is subculture. Yes, subculture. We're talking here about groups of consumers with similar component lifestyles. And where I start with this is, what do you do for a thrill on Saturday night? So think about urban dinks, dual income, no kids. Urban dinks with an income over $150,000 a year, contrasted with a traditional family, husband, wife, 3 kids, earning $30,000 a year, living in a rural area. Would you say that their lifestyle and the subculture of people they're around are very, very different? Or you can take from me, Saturday night thrill. I was up a little while back, pretty late for Saturday night, 8 o'clock. That's really late for me on a Saturday night. So I was doing a little email on Saturday night, and I had to send an email to the Thompson book rep at the time, and I'm checking out the other email, and suddenly, boom, pops up with a reply. Comes right back to her. She's home on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock doing her email, and I had to send her back another email saying, what does this say about us, that on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, we're sitting home doing our email? Yeah. It sort of gives you an idea of what you're doing on Saturday night, tells me a lot about you. Now, what I can do on subcultures, I can quantify and name them. I've got Christian conservatives, I've got yuppies, I've got hip-hoppers, I've got young urban gay men. And here's the thing, people in a subculture are going to have similar AIOs, activities, interests, opinions. They'll have similar spending patterns for various products and services. They will seek similar, tangible product attributes, and most important of all, they're going to have similar viewing and reading patterns, and they will respond to similar emotional and intangible cues. Oh, is that an advertising manager's dream? Now, within this, closely paralleling subcultures, we have reference groups. And reference groups being groups that influence an individual's AIOs and purchasing behavior. Now, for me as a marketer, those small primary membership groups, your friends, your local church, your PTA, are really not particularly useful to me, though these groups, particularly, say, the family, can significantly impact the purchases like toothpaste, shampoo, other low-involvement household products. I'll bet you're still using the same brand of detergent that Mom did. It is the larger, more formal groups that are much more important to me. Southern Baptist Convention, Greenpeace, Nazi Party, ACLU. Now, within this, it's not all that important whether something is a direct membership group, you actually belong to it, or an indirect aspirational group, you desire to belong to it or you want to emulate it. Now, on the same lines, also useful to me are informal groups that relate to a lifestyle. Aspirational groups such as surfers, skateboarders, mountain bikers. That's what Mountain Dew plays to the high-intensity sportster boy. And they, even if they're living out in Nebraska and the biggest body of water they ever saw was the Platte River, they still think that surfers are really something that they're into. So play the surfer thing. That's a group. Or I would have the flip side of that, non-aspirational reference groups I want nothing to do with. What would that be for me? That would probably be a gated golf course community of $5 million homes in Boca Raton. Not for me. Wouldn't want to deal with it. Now, within this then, very closely related to reference groups are opinion leaders. And opinion leaders being individuals looked up to and who influence the opinions of other people. They're often part of a respective reference group. So I could have Bill Gates, Lady Gaga, or take your pick, Bill O'Reilly or Rachel Maddow, say. Now within this, we ought to look at some of the things about perception, because perception is not always as rational as we might think it is. Within this, we have selective exposure. That is to say, you choose which stimuli to see and not to see. For example, you want to reach me? You are not going to reach me if you advertise on hip-hop radio or figure skating and TV. I'm not there. The other types of issues on perception relate to the fact that perceptions are not as fully objective or rational as sometimes we like to think they are. Selective perception. You notice certain stimuli, you don't notice others. Like, say, for instance, I get an 18-year-old heterosexual male and a 30-year-old heterosexual female who walk from one end of Cordova Mall to the other. At the end of that walk through, if you were to ask them what did they see on the walk through, how similar do you think that would be? Probably not similar at all. Not at all. You don't see it. Or you see something and the other person doesn't. Totally changes. This is the wonderful thing about getting into your golden years. You're invisible to people. For most of my students out there, if you were to happen to see me, this ancient person walking around the mall, you would never even notice I was there. You wouldn't see me there. If you see me in the classroom, you'd recognize me or something like that. It's just basically what you're seeing here is just selective perception. You're not going to see everything. You see the things you might have an interest in looking at and beyond that. Selective distortion, the other one we got on here, you distort what you see and what you hear to make it consistent with your preconceived attitudes and beliefs. You expect to see garbage, you're going to see garbage. That's the basis for racism. Racists do not think they're being irrational. They think they're being totally rational. They will point to you objective reasons why they think one group, theirs, is superior, and other groups, the other people, are inferior. They fail to see those things that would basically say, wait a second, you're basically seeing people differently. I remember I was in Wrigley Field in the bleachers one time, and it was some guy was sitting in the bleachers there and talking about, these black ball players, they just don't hustle. And I just pointed down the field, Andre Dawson? He's all well, Andre Dawson. See, they don't see it. They don't see it like this. Within this and very closely related, selective retention, that's kind of a long-term manifestation of selective distortion. We only remember those things that are consistent with our feelings and beliefs. So you've got people who are lighting candles and praying for miracles. They'll tell you, if we light the candles and pray for miracles, it works. It has something happen. Yeah, because you forget the times you lit the candles and prayed for the miracles and nothing happened. Try people with gambling addictions. They will always remember their successes and forget their failures. You got some guy in the neighborhood, He's a gambling addict from the word go. He says, I have got a system. I can beat roulette every single time. I can beat it. It's a surefire system. And I said, that's great, Fred. Why are you living in that beat-up old trailer down there? He doesn't remember it like this. And of course, no course would be complete without, as we're required to bring it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And essentially, even if your product only addresses lower-level physiological needs, a cold Coke, a cold beer will quench your thirst on a hot day. What really builds awareness and preferences are the upper-level affiliation, esteem, and self-actualization needs. This is how Pepsi's done it. We'll talk about this throughout this whole course. They're basically saying, if you drink Pepsi, you're young and cool. If you drink Coke, you're nerdy and out of it. Why do people drink Amstel Light? Think about that. Why do you drink Amstel Light? Yeah, to get a buzz. But why would you drink Amstel Light instead of, say, Bud Light? Because I'm willing to bet on a taste test, you can't tell the difference between Amstel Light and Bud Light. The reality is, if you're going to a foo-foo soiree in Gulf Breeze, you want to have the Amstel Light to look debonair. Bud Light, you'd look kind of common, walking in there like this. But let's say I'm going to a party in Ensley, and I walk in with an Amstel Light, I might get beat up. I've got to look tough. I've got to walk in with a quart bottle of Ice House that makes me look right. It's that image that makes the thing go. And that is one of the keys to marketing. So that's a lot of the realities of what we get to in consumer behavior. And this has been topic 4. And this is Marketing Fundamentals with Bob.